Greetings, one and all. Welcome back to Whatever Happened To, the series where we take a where are they now look at players who found success in the National Hockey League but are no longer permanent fixtures in the league either due to controversy, poor play or just rotten luck. In today's episode, we are going to be taking a look at a former 30-goal scorer and Stanley Cup champion, as we ask, whatever happened to Nathan Horton? After being drafted 3rd overall in the 2003 NHL entry draft by the Florida Panthers, Nathan Horton cracked the Panthers roster after his first training camp with the team and signed his entry-level contract on October 6, 2003. After his signing, Panthers head coach at the time Mike Keenan compared Horton's ability and his potential to Hall of Fame forward Mark Messier. A pretty big comparison for a guy who hadn't yet played an NHL game at that point, but a comparison made nonetheless. Horton's rookie outing during the 2003/04 NHL season saw him notch 14 goals and 8 assists for 22 points in 55 games, which included his first NHL point against the Minnesota Wild on October 24th with an assist on a goal by Ivan Novoseltsev, and his first career NHL goal against the San Jose Sharks on November 1st. Whilst Nathan Horton would put up decent rookie numbers, the Florida Panthers missed out on the 2004 NHL playoffs, coming 4th in their division. The 2004/05 NHL season was cancelled due to a lockout, so Horton signed a contract on October 29, 2004 with the San Antonio Rampage, the Florida Panthers AHL affiliate. Horton missed 14 games due to a shoulder injury he sustained in a fight, but still managed to notch 5 goals and 4 assists for 9 points in 21 games with the Rampage that season. When the NHL resumed play for the 2005/06 season, Horton returned to the Panthers lineup, looking to become a top player and key point producer for the Panthers. Horton scored 28 goals and 19 assists for 47 points in 71 games that season, doubling the numbers he put up in his rookie season and helped cement himself as a top player on the Panthers roster. Whilst Horton would have a strong sophomore season in the league, the Panthers would once again miss the playoffs as they finished 4th in their division for the second straight season. The 2006/07 season saw Horton's entry-level contract finished, so the Florida Panthers signed the rising star to a 1-year, $1.1 million contract. Horton, who was looking for his big payday, set new career highs and established himself as a top player in the league, as he notched 31 goals and 31 assists for 62 points in 82 games. The first year Horton had played every game in a season. Whilst Horton continued to break his previous records, the Panthers missed out on the playoffs once again for the 3rd consecutive year, finishing 4th in their division for the 3rd straight season also. Having improved with each new season and proving to the Panthers that he could be a key player for them moving forwards, the Florida Panthers rewarded Horton's contribution to the team with a shiny new 6-year, $24 million contract with an average annual value of $4 million a season on June the 21st, 2007. This contract put to bed any rumours circulating around that Horton may be traded or that he wasn't happy playing in Florida, and it allowed Horton to focus on leading Florida to their first playoff berth since he joined the Sunbelt franchise. The 2007/08 season saw Horton make good on his new contract, as he scored 27 goals and 35 assists for 62 points in 82 games. These numbers helped the Panthers to finish 3rd in their division that season, but the Panthers were left disappointed once again as they missed the playoffs for the 4th straight season since Horton had joined the team. The 2008/09 season had Horton limited to only 67 games due to an injury, which saw him suffering a deep cut in his leg after it was stepped on by a skate. Ouch. However, Horton scored 22 goals and 23 assists for 45 points that season. Decent numbers, but a dip in his production compared to his last few seasons with the Panthers. This disappointing season for Horton didn't help the Panthers' playoff push as they missed the playoffs yet again, finishing 3rd in their division. I could see why Horton may not have liked playing in Florida during the late 2000s, considering he had been in the league for 5 seasons and never made the playoffs. That would be annoying for any player, especially one like Nathan Horton who seems built for playoff hockey. But anyway, the 2009/10 NHL season saw Nathan Horton suffer a finger injury that forced him out of the lineup for some time due to surgery. This injury wasn't serious enough to keep Horton out of the lineup for long though, as he notched 20 goals and 37 assists for 57 points in 65 games that season. Whilst Horton saw his point totals take an upward turn compared to the previous season, it once again wasn't enough to reward him with any post-season action as, say it with me now, the Panthers missed the playoffs again. The Panthers finished 5th in their division, missing the playoffs for the 6th straight year since Horton joined the team. With the team taking a huge step back in its quest to compete for a Stanley Cup, Florida knew that they had to take their team in a different direction, which meant getting rid of some key players on their roster. On June the 22nd, 2010, Nathan Horton was traded, along with Gregory Campbell, to the Boston Bruins in exchange for Dennis Wideman, a 2010 first-round pick, and a 2011 third-round pick. All of a sudden, Horton was sent packing from a Sunbelt franchise allergic to making the playoffs and was heading to an Original Six powerhouse with a storied history and who were looking to be a Stanley Cup contender the following season. I don't know about you, but I bet Horton was pretty excited about the change of scenery, especially if the rumours were true that he wanted out of Florida. The 2010/11 season saw Horton score 26 goals and 27 assists for 53 points in 80 games during his first season in the black and gold in Boston. Those numbers were enough to help Boston make the playoffs and give Horton his first chance at seeing NHL playoff hockey up close and personal. Horton scored 8 goals and 9 assists for 17 points in 21 games during the 2011 NHL playoffs. But he saw his post-season halted during Game 3 of the 2011 Stanley Cup Finals. Vancouver Canucks defenseman Aaron Rome delivered a late hit on Nathan Horton, which knocked him out cold on the ice, requiring a stretcher to carry him off the ice. Whilst Horton was being taken to hospital to evaluate him, Rome was given a game misconduct for the hit and a 5-minute major penalty for interference. Horton was diagnosed with a severe concussion, which took him out of the rest of the playoffs, and Aaron Rome was given a 4-game suspension for the incident, meaning he too missed the rest of the playoffs. Seems fair to me. If there was anything positive at all to be gained from something like this, the injury to Nathan Horton was arguably the turning point of the series, as Boston went on to win 4 of the next 5 games, winning the 2011 playoffs and subsequently the Stanley Cup in 7 games. Although Horton didn't play the last few games in the series, he was able to hoist the Stanley Cup with the rest of his teammates on June 15th, 2011, after the Game 7 victory against the Vancouver Canucks in Vancouver. Only a season ago, Horton had never tasted playoff hockey in sunny Florida, but a year later he had done what only one team every year could do. He became a Stanley Cup champion. Not only that, but Nathan Horton was a big reason why the Bruins won the Cup too. I'm sure Horton was pretty happy with how things worked out for him over that year, except for the concussion, of course, that's pretty bad. The Bruins looked to defend their Stanley Cup championship in the following 2011/12 NHL season, which saw Horton notch 17 goals and 15 assists for 32 points. Whilst this might seem like a drop in his production, Nathan Horton only played 46 games that season due to sustaining another concussion on January the 22nd, 2012 from Philadelphia Flyers forward Tom Sestito. The concussion kept Horton out of the lineup for the remainder of the regular season and the entire playoffs, which was a blow to the Boston Bruins, who failed to win the Stanley Cup for a second straight season, as Boston were eliminated in 7 games in round 1 of the playoffs by the Washington Capitals. When the 2012/13 season began in a lockout, most NHL players signed with other teams around the world until the NHL resumed play. However, Horton chose not to play for another team, and instead decided to rest up and be ready for when the NHL season began. When the NHL resumed play, Nathan Horton notched 13 goals and 9 assists for 22 points in 43 games during the shortened season. Clearly feeling the effects of 2 concussions in less than a year, Horton's point production was seemingly cut in half over the last 2 seasons compared to his previous seasons before the concussions. Even though he only played half of a standard season, Horton's 12/13 production tied for his lowest point totals in a season since his rookie year in the National Hockey League. However, the playoffs were where Horton shined brightest, as he scored 7 goals and 12 assists for 19 points in 22 games, as the Bruins returned to the Stanley Cup finals, but were eliminated in 6 games by the Chicago Blackhawks. Whilst he would have a strong postseason, things were starting to take a turn for the worse for Nathan Horton. And when it rains, it pours. After Horton's 6-year contract he signed back with the Florida Panthers expired, and the Bruins announced that they would not be re-signing him to their roster, Nathan Horton hit free agency for the first time in his career. Horton definitely had a much better experience than most NHL players during free agency, as on July the 5th, 2013, Horton signed a 7-year, $37.1 million contract with the Columbus Blue Jackets, which carried an average annual value of $5.3 million a season. After winning a Stanley Cup the season after he was traded, and even going through several concussion problems, Nathan Horton was laughing all the way to the bank, having found himself the payday of his career, with a team looking to finally compete for a Stanley Cup after years of mediocrity in the league. Surely this signing would be a key turning point for both the Blue Jackets and Horton's career, right? It could only mean good things, right? Surely Horton would get healthy again and the team would win their first cup in franchise history, right? Wrong! Horton didn't play the first half of the 2013/14 season due to off-season shoulder surgery. Try saying that 5 times really quickly. But when he finally joined the team, he put up 5 goals and 14 assists for 19 points in 36 games. Whilst Horton would put up okay numbers and help Columbus reach the playoffs for the second time in their franchise history, Horton didn't play a single playoff game, as the Blue Jackets were eliminated in 6 games in the first round by the Pittsburgh Penguins. Even though the Blue Jackets were disappointed with their playoff performance, things were about to get a whole lot worse for Horton and the future of his NHL career. In October 2014, it was announced that Nathan Horton would be placed on the Columbus Blue Jackets long-term injured reserve list for the entirety of the season. This came due to Horton being diagnosed with a degenerative injury in the lumbar region of his back. This type of injury makes it hard for someone to perform even the simplest of tasks, such as standing up, bending over, running, and getting in and out of a car. In order to fix the problem with his back, Horton would require a 3 or 4 level spinal fusion with a titanium rod in order to relieve the pain. However, a procedure like this would all but end any possibility of Nathan Horton playing in the NHL ever again. As you can imagine, Horton was stuck between a rock and a hard place. Does he refuse the surgery and endure the excruciating pain every day for a small chance that he might play in the NHL again one day? Or does he have the surgery done and relieve himself of the pain, but never play a game in the NHL ever again? Having the surgery done was a decision that Horton didn't want to make, and still hasn't made to this day, as he knows once he makes that choice, there's no going back. That is quite literally the worst decision any hockey player or any athlete could have to make, and I completely, personally understand why Horton hasn't made the choice to have surgery. God, you hate hearing about something like this, it's just terrible. So Nathan Horton was placed on the Jackets' long-term injured reserve for the 14-15 NHL season, until February 26, 2015, when he was traded to the Toronto Maple Leafs in exchange for David Clarkson, another player who had struggled with injuries and was being paid a large sum of money each year. Immediately following the trade, Nathan Horton was placed on the Maple Leafs long-term injured reserve list for the remainder of the season. To this day, Nathan Horton remains on the Toronto Maple Leafs long-term injured reserve list, having not played in the NHL since early 2014. However, due to signing a 7-year contract with the Blue Jackets in 2013, Horton will continue to be paid $5.3 million for the next 2 seasons until his contract runs out in 2020. But his salary won't count towards the Leafs salary cap as he's on the long-term injured reserve list. Having not played an NHL game in 4 years, and with no signs of him coming back due to the severity of his condition, I think it's a safe bet to assume that Nathan Horton has played his final game in the National Hockey League. It's just a shame that it had to end that way for such a talented player like Nathan Horton. You never want to see something like this happen to a player, and you wish that stuff like this didn't happen. You wish that nothing like this happened in sports. But unfortunately, life does give some people the short end of the stick. I would love Nathan Horton to sign a one-day contract with the Boston Bruins, get one more lap around TD Garden, the team that he won the Stanley Cup with back in 2011, and get a proper send-off by the league and the teams he played for. But with the way things have gone, unfortunately I just don't see it happening. But even though his career didn't end the way anyone would have liked, the now 32-year-old winger and former 3rd overall draft pick ended up playing 10 seasons in the NHL, notching 203 goals and 218 assists for 420 points in 627 career NHL games, as well as notching one 30-goal season and 5 20-goal seasons, whilst also picking up a Stanley Cup ring in 2011. He may not have had the longest or the most successful career in the NHL compared to many other players, but Nathan Horton sure did carve out an impressive career for himself given his circumstances, and he made the best with the opportunities that he was given. And there you go! That's what happened to Nathan Horton! What do you think about Horton's career? Was it good, bad, or do you hope he gets a proper goodbye from the league? I know I do. Let me know in the comments below, I would love to hear what you guys think. Also, if you have any suggestions of players for future episodes, feel free to leave them in the comments below, but please feel free to like, subscribe, share, or watch some of my other videos. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye!